Hello, Writing to Learn students and editors. I'm here with JT Hoppmann, who is one of my online level 2 students. And I heard about a very exciting thing that JT had done lately with his writing. And so I wanted him to have a chance to tell you about how he solved a problem that he'd been having with his writing. So JT, can you tell us, first of all, what the problem was that you were having?
I just didn't want to write.
And yet you did write. You wrote beautifully. Every single paper you've turned in last year and this year have been fantastic. So what was the problem?
Well, the first year it wasn't a problem. The second year was when I decided to have the brilliant idea of trying to shove all the sentence openers and all the clauses and dress ups in there. And I could do it. It just didn't even motivate me because every single time right before I was going to begin writing, all I could think about was, my goodness, I have to shove all this in here. Don't want to do it. It's going to be a nightmare. And you can see why it would be such a problem, because literally all you can think about is how hard it is.
Right. And for those of you who are just getting started on IEW, or maybe you haven't even started yet, what JT is talking about are the style elements that we learn in IEW, which makes your writing so much better. And really, his writing is just wonderful. But he didn't want to have to go back and put things in. We never have just one draft of anything. There's always got to be at least 2 drafts. So he was going to have to go back anyhow, but he wanted to do it all the first time around. And that just wasn't working well for you. Is that right, JT?
That is true. Part of the problem was I had trouble actually finishing the paper to hand to my editor. So normally I'd just be like to my editor, which is my mom, here, take this, edit it, so I can edit it, send it in. Now, the problem with that is it doesn't become as awesome as a paragraph normally would become. Instead, what I decided to try and do was, thanks to the encouragement of my awesome mother, she told me, just fling words on the page, just try and get the words on the page. And it actually worked. If you can think right off the top of your head, oh wait, this can fit here, the sentence opener, this dress up. If you're writing and it just happens to appear on the page, that's great. But don't aim to get every single dress up and sentence opener in that paper at the first draft, because your editor is there for a reason, and you will also edit it, because there will be some things that while the editor might like, you will not. So you're always going to have to go back and change. So always, for the first day, just get the words on the page. Don't worry about anything else. Now, depending on how fast you write, it might go so by really fast that you'll be like, it feels like cheating. But it's not, because you're going to be spending 15 to 30 minutes editing that paragraph. And your parent or editor is also going to be spending 15 to 30 minutes editing that paragraph. So in all, while you might spend like 15 to 30 minutes first writing the paragraph, you're going to actually put in more time on it than you would just by trying to shove all the elements in there. It's going to be a nightmare if you try and shove all the dress ups in there. And it might take you even longer than just getting the words on the page and deciding to let the round of edits go through.
That's just brilliant.
Once you have the information on there, you can easily rearrange it. It's fun.
It is fun. And of course, now for those of you who haven't done IEW yet, you're just looking forward to starting it maybe this coming fall. This, of course, is after JT has already made up a keyword outline. So he's already really thought about the kind of information he wants in there. What he's doing now is making it beautiful with the style. And so it does take several rounds. And JT, I was going to share this with you, and I'll share it with everybody that's watching. I have this is in the level 2 handbook, I think, but there was a famous editor named Maxwell Perkins, and he had this to say. Let me show you his picture. Hold on a minute. He had, well, I had a nice big picture of Maxwell Perkins. He had this to say about editing. And obviously this was quite some time ago. I think maybe he was in the 40s, 50s, but this is what Maxwell Perkins, famous editor, I think he was Ernest Hemingway's editor, several really well-known writers. And this is what Maxwell Perkins said about it, JT. Would you read that aloud to us, please, JT?
Just get it down on the paper, and then we'll see what to do with it.
Isn't that awesome? Because that's exactly the idea that you came up with, JT, on your own. So it really does work. Getting started is the hardest part. And that terrible anticipation of how hard it's going to be makes it even harder to start, I think. Don't you agree?
Yes, it does. Actually, me and my sister have a very colorful way of describing just trying to get words on the paper. And we call it word vomit because it's just, we don't care what words we get on there. We're just trying to get words on there. As long as you have all the ideas in there, you can easily just edit and polish it as much as you want. You just need to get the rough paragraph done.
Okay, so you would suggest just grab up your paper and pencil, or if you're the kind of people that compose at the computer, I don't know, I do. I think through my fingers, but some people prefer to write. Whichever way it is, you just got to go ahead and get started. And if you hate the first opening sentence of the paragraph, that's okay, because it's not going to stay there. Would you show us your draft, JT, that's all marked up, please, and tell us a little bit about it just for a minute?
Okay, so this is a paper I was writing, and you can see some edit marks of my editor. But what you can't see on this is this was actually the second draft. I edited my paper before I actually gave it to my editor, and this paragraph started off with a quote. And then after which, there was this sentence never was a number 3 opener. It just, after the quote, it went right into declared Sir Percy, who is secretly the Scarlet Pimpernel. Now, as soon as I got rid of the quote, I had to rework a couple things like this sentence. It happened to be that I realized I could throw in a number 3 in there. That sounded great. I looked at this sentence, which was originally later in the paragraph, and I'm like, this is actually a really good attention grabber. So I just put it up front, and then I looked at through the whole paragraph to make sure it flowed naturally, and if there are any things that just popped out at me, I just edited it away. And if it doesn't come to you immediately, it's okay, because that's what your editor is there for. So if you can't figure out how to word a specific thing, leave it for your editor, because the editor is most likely going to pick it up and be like, oh, wait, this is how you word this correctly.
Exactly. So this is very inspiring. And so this is really his second draft. And you can see he's already written in more things here. And what was it you told me about that quote that you had? You said when you looked at it again the next day, you just didn't like it. And so you got rid of it.
Yep.
So, but you can't ever get to that point if you don't get started. The thing to do is to get started, because it's probably going to be horrible the first time around, whatever it is you write. There's a wonderful quote by, oh my, I can't think. I think it was Robert Mitchum, maybe. And anyway, you can look it up. I think he said, I am the world's worst writer, but I am one of the world's great rewriters. And so that's very inspiring as well. And JT, just tell the students what you realized about not letting a keyword outline be a taskmaster, but instead a servant. Explain what you mean by that.
What that means to me is that the keyword outline is the starting point. So I get my keyword outline down, then I write the paragraph from that keyword outline, and then looking at the paragraph, I can gauge whether or not I need to add some things or take away some things. So if I decide to add things, replace things, or just take away them, then I do so, and then I look at the paragraph and think, okay, now I need to revise my keyword outline. So normally what you can do with your keyword outline is you can either just cross out the points you don't have and put something underneath them, or add a point or two if you haven't already reached the limit Mrs. Kimball has set. Or you can actually just take a whole new piece of paper and copy exactly which points you've used in your paper, and then make up new points for what information used in the paragraph but wasn't used in the keyword outline. So then your keyword outline matches.
And of course, that's a JT thing. I never ever have required people to make more than one draft of the keyword outline. But JT kind of likes to see his page nice and neat. So he doesn't like all the scratch outs and stuff like that. And that's kind of a personal choice there, JT. So I salute you for that. Well, is there any final advice you'd like to give people that are really struggling just doing the writing? Anything else you can think of that you'd like to say?
Don't let being overwhelmed stop you from writing for more than 3 or 4 days. That's
a disaster.
Except the thing is, with this thing is, even if you fall behind a day or two, the goal is just to edit it as much as you can. So if you can as long as you get all the paragraphs done, not all in one day, mind you, just all the paragraphs done with a day or two of editing, it will come out just as well. Now, that's not an excuse to decide to wait 5 days, because that does not feel good. And trust me, I know from experience.
It doesn't make the editors happy.
Never want to have to do it again.
Plus, your editor gets very unhappy when they get a whole load of work like that dumped on them at one time, right? I know.
Mom's awesome. She doesn't really care.
Well, I cared because I had to edit my children's papers, and let me tell you, I was not happy. So, okay, JT, well, thank you so much. I'm very inspired by your story. I really had no idea that you were having this issue, because your writing was so good. But I think you're going to be a lot happier doing it this way. Just get it down on paper, and then you can see what to do about it.
It relieves the stress about writing.
It sure does. I'm sorry, we had a little bit of lag there. But anyway, okay. Well, thank you very much. And look forward to reading your next essay.